Well, hello and welcome to this week's training call. This is Byron Belka calling in from Springville, Utah. Excited as always to be able to share a couple of principles about the business. And what we're focused on here and what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to take as much human error as we can out of this. A lot of times we make this industry and we make whatever we're doing a lot more complicated than it needs to be. And a lot of it is just trying to figure out and hone in those skills. But at least if you know where to put the right energy, if you know what you need to be doing so that you can get from point A to point B a lot faster, then a lot of people are going to see results on a more escalated and more increased scale, which is what we're trying to accomplish. And the only way that you can do that long term is if it's about a system. And so here at Rain, we focus on our Rain cycle, which is all about the system and how we take people and improve them and their skill sets and understanding the different aspects of this business. Now, as this Rain cycle, just like a normal Rain cycle, in nature, it's something that is repeated and repeated and repeated. And the more you do it, the more your skill set's going to increase, the more you're going to understand it, the better it's going to be able to be taught. And once again, you're going to see the duplication in your team and your organization happen much faster. It's all about systems. And so today, what we're going to focus on is the fourth portion of the Rain cycle, which is the message. And what you want to do in the message is how we're portraying this opportunity to people. I mean, obviously there's multiple ways that you can hand somebody something. You can give them a nice beautiful cake, and you can take those same ingredients and have a ball of mush and it doesn't look as enticing. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're sharing this opportunity the best way that we can and giving it justice, because it is a powerful, powerful product and opportunity. And we want to make sure that that message is coming across loud and clear. All right. So when I sit down, or one of the things that I'm doing whenever I try to do a presentation, or I'm sharing with somebody what's going on here at Rain, I think that most people are asking themselves two questions. And the first thing they're asking themselves is, do I like what I see? I mean, do I like it? And a lot of people say, it makes sense. I like it. I see the benefits, and wow, this is pretty exciting. You're just launching here, or whatever the reasons that we're showing them that the message is for them. Because once again, a lot of people want to know what's in it for them, and they're going to see, when they see that, they're going to like something about it. What do they like? And the second thing that I believe people are asking themselves is they're asking, can I do it? Because a lot of times, right now, I could probably pick up the phone and I could call some people and they would join the business as I mentioned before. But I have family members that if I called and tried to talk them about into doing the business, they wouldn't really want to do it. It's not because they don't like the product. Obviously, they take the product, but they wouldn't probably want to join the business and really go out there and do it, even though I've seen success. And the reason being is because they'll say, because it's you can do it. I don't know if I can do it. And what we need to show people is we need to show them exactly how they can. And when you can do this with somebody, then once again, I believe you've answered the two main questions that everybody's going to be asking themselves. So as we're doing this and focusing on the message, I want people to feel empowered. I want people to know that they can do this. Not only that they like what they see and it's powerful, but they can do it. Another thing when we're dealing with the message is recognizing your role in the whole process. You need to know what your role is. And I believe there's three real roles that you need to know and you need to understand when you're in which role, and play that character. Obviously, take that role. Don't try to be the presenter when you've invited. And so there's a reason that we have this third party validation. And once again, if you do this as a team and we utilize and work with each other, it just works. It just works so much more effectively. So the presenter really is the business partner who helped you enroll you in Rain, or is your sponsor, or it doesn't even have to be. It could be your upline sponsor. It can be anybody but you, really, guys. The point of this is you are needing somebody that in your client or prospects or person you're trying to potential customer's mind is the expert. They might know you, and that might be a good thing, and it might be a bad thing. And when I say bad thing, not that you're a bad person, but they might know that maybe you don't have a lot of business experience. Maybe you've tried a business or two and they failed. Maybe this or maybe that. All right. They know that you're new to it. And so in their mind, you're not the expert. So it's important to get somebody that they don't know, so that when they're on the phone and they're hearing it from somebody, all they know is that this is the only way that they know this person is through the RAIN opportunity. So in their mind, they're going to associate that person with RAIN, and they're the expert in RAIN in their mind. And so this third party validation and credibility not only is important from that standpoint, but it's also important in edification, and they can once again be able to build you up and be excited that they're working with you, and you obviously need to do the same thing back and forth as we build each other up and edify one another. Okay, the inviter is just that. This is a team member who invites the guest to hear what's going on. If you have a desire to be very, very successful in this industry, and you can only really master one thing, master inviting, because inviting is the key. You become an expert inviter, your business will flourish. You got to just get people in front of the opportunity, and that's it. What we have is compelling enough. And if people get on this product and experience and try, what we have is real. And as people have that experience and get in front of it, you're going to have people try the product. You're going to have people want to do the business. You're going to have people have positive experiences, and they're going to want to join your team and join the organization. But that's never, ever going to happen if they don't get in front of the opportunity. All right. And then obviously the client is the guest or the potential customer that's looking at the product and what we're doing and trying to accomplish here. So know what your role is. Okay. One thing that I want to focus on is we are storytellers. Okay. That's really what we are. Now, we're not telling like or telling the truth, but they want to tell stories. Like the famous saying says, facts tell, but stories sell. And even though we're not salespeople, really what we're trying to do is it makes it real for the individual. When you can take this science and you can take everything that we're talking about our amazing product Soul, and you can bring it into a real life situation and how it's affected you, or it's how it's affected somebody that you care about, or what's happened. It makes it real. And so here's the key points that you need to understand. If people have heard my presentations, you probably know what I'm going to say, because I go through this. You let people know, hey, my name is Byron Belka. I grew up outside of Salt Lake City. I usually say I'm nothing special. Give them a little bit of your background. I usually tell people before this, I was in the mortgage industry. And what that does is that allows people to relate to you. Maybe they were in a similar industry, or maybe they had a similar experience. And that's why it's good as we work as a team, as you get to meet people, you're going to find people that maybe are in an industry right now that is looking into our opportunity, and you've got somebody else in your team that came from that industry as well. And so that's where the power of the three-way calling and everything comes into effect. But your story is critical because it makes it alive. It makes it alive. So what did you do for a living? Let's say you're not a full-time networker. What was your profession before you joined the industry? And then what you want to do is you want to tell people why RAIN. What was it for you that brought you, that got you excited? Maybe you've seen a lot of opportunities. Maybe you've seen success in a lot of opportunities. Maybe this is your first time being involved in a network marketing company. But what was the reason? Share your personal reason for starting your RAIN business. And what you want to do is describe the dilemma, between you and your goals or your dreams, or what was maybe holding you back, and how you saw this as a benefit or a result. Okay, and then you want to share with people what's happened since you've joined RAIN. Even if you've only been in a week, you still can share with people what's happened. And I remember when I got into this business, I didn't have a story. I would tell my story, but I would tell my mentor's story because it was a powerful story. And in telling that story, I created my own. Okay. And then I was able to tell my own story and what had happened to me in my first 90 days and what was taking place in that company and in our organization with people and the product. And I was able to create that story, and people were able to tell my story and use me, as we talk about using each other as third-party validation, to create their own story. Okay. But what you need to do is you need to get your own story. Okay. Get on the product. experience the power of it. Have a testimonial. And if you don't have it yet, let's say your product, I know that there are people that are passionate when they hear about what's going on. They're out doing amazing things before their product even shows up in the mail, because they have a story already, and that story was how they were introduced to this opportunity, how they came to find it, and why they believe it's unique and special, or somebody else that's had a positive experience. If you don't have a story yet, tell somebody else's, but gain your own. So that's one of the first things that you want to do in the message, is making sure that you understand your story and you're sharing it so it becomes real. All right. Another thing you want to do is you want to focus on the company and the company story. So you're telling your story. Now you're going to tell the company story. Okay, you want to focus on the benefits. Okay, discuss the RAIN difference. What makes us different? We're grounded in seed science, seed nutrition. We go right to the source. That this is kind of a next generation nutritional product because of the fact that the science shows where the benefits are coming from. And this is really where you can kind of even talk about the background of the company. Who are the people involved? How the stars have aligned, and RAIN is the perfect company in the perfect industry at the perfect time. I love that, and I truly believe that. And for those people that have been in this industry for a while and seen a lot of things, there's something different about what we're doing here. There's just a feeling, this product and what's taking place, and how it's moving forward, and what's happening. It's unique. It really is unique. So you want to talk about the advantages, discuss the RAIN team, and your personal team, the people that you're working with, the systems, the tools, the trainings. And once again, this is where you're just really telling the story of the company. And that's the second part of the message that you need to do. Now, if you understand these core things where you're trying to tell your story, you're trying to tell the company story, and the next thing is you're showing them how it can be beneficial financially if they're interested, obviously, in the money aspect of it. Okay, but if you know that these are the three core things that you need to get across, you should be able to do a presentation in 5 minutes, in a half an hour, in an hour and a half, in a big group setting if that's what's needed. But you should be able to make it a 5-minute or a 15-minute presentation because you know the core points that you need to hit. Now, this part of the message we're talking about, how do you make money? So what we need to do is we need to show people our profit system. Now, any compensation plan is going to have its, if the first time somebody hears it, it's going to be kind of confusing because it's the first time they've heard it. It's new. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that what you're doing is simple. Okay, keep it simple. Okay, make it simple numbers, simple math, so that they can follow and understand. And what I tell people is, if you give people enough information, not that I'm trying to withhold information, we're not. We're just trying to focus on the concepts and the basis right at the beginning, because there's nothing else to focus on. We need to understand if these people grasp our story and who we are and this message from the get-go before we take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of their time. Okay, that's not fair. We want to make sure that this is something they want to learn more about, and so that's why we want to be to the point, and we want to make it simple. And so what you want to do in this portion is, like I said, keep it as simplistic as possible. If you give somebody enough information, let's say the size of a quarter, okay, that's how many questions they can have, because that's all the information they have. You give somebody, let's say, information the size of a hula hoop compared to the quarter, okay, you've just opened up the door, and you're going to have that many more questions. Once again, not that questions are bad, but you got to do the steps at a time. That's why we need to keep it simple. You want to discuss, our challenge. What do they want to accomplish in the next week, 2 weeks, couple months? Where do they want to be 90 days from today? Okay, what do they want to have that they don't have now? Is it better health? Is it better wealth? Is it more time freedom? Is it, what are they after? And how we break that down, obviously that's a different portion in the RAIN cycle on how we do that. But you want to make sure in the message this point is clear. You want to emphasize that now is the time to get involved. You're the one that's going to create the urgency and momentum in your team. Okay, you can see momentum in groups, you can see it in cities, you can see it in countries, and you can see it in a whole company. Okay, but it always is going to start with core key groups and leaders, momentum. And how that starts is by creating urgency. And if there's a conference call that's going on or a webinar that's going on weekly, and you're letting somebody know about it, and they say, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it this week, and you say, well, that's all right because we have one every week. You're not creating urgency. When I'm talking to somebody, I want them to know that now is the time. When is the soonest that we can get together? When I'm inviting, when I'm sharing the message, we want to emphasize that too. And we can do that by how this is structured. Okay, we have to build down. That's a powerful aspect of the compensation plan that I love because we build down. And there are people, I'm telling you, there are people, what's even happening from week to week to week to week, people that have waited a week have missed out. Okay, and I've got story after story after story. And what we want to do is we want people to understand that now we need to create that urgency. And I remember this early in my career where I had my mentor that would always put a lot of pressure on me, which was good. I was young. I needed that direction. And even though I didn't always like that pressure, it was what pushed me forward and enabled me to see a lot more success at a lot faster pace than I ever would have had that not been the case. But I remember we used to do these conference calls, and we were doing one night, and it wasn't specifically for me; it was for a group. And so my mentor called me and said, "Okay, we're going to do this conference call at 5:00." And so I was planning on getting people on. So I had called 4 people. I remember calling the first. I didn't have a lot of time. This was the kind of late notice, so I hurried and called the first person, and I said, "Hey, tried to invite them to get on that call," and they were at work late. They said, "Oh, I'm working late tonight, so I can't really do it." I called another person that had some ecclesiastical duties with their church that they weren't able to do. I had another person. They were part of the home show in Utah. I remember they were doing the home show, and that was going on, and they were working with that. And then the other person. Also told me that they were just tied up, that they weren't able to do it. So I called 4 people, and I wasn't able to get one of them to get on that call. Okay, so right before the call, my mentor calls me and says, "All right, we're doing this call at 5:00. Afterwards, I've got an hour. I want you to meet me at TGI Fridays, and I want you to bring 4 people." And then he hangs up. And I remember I'm thinking to myself, I can't even get 4 people on a call. How am I going to get 4 people to drop what they're doing and meet me for dinner, in about it, in a little over an hour? How am I going to be able to do that? And so obviously I was like, gosh, man, that's not easy. But you know what I did? I called those same 4 people back. So these 4 people didn't have time to get on a phone call, and I called them back and I said, "Hey, listen, okay, I know you're busy. Okay, but I've got a multimillionaire in town right now, and he's been teaching me how to do what he does. And he wants to have dinner with us and take us out to dinner and show us how to be successful like he has. I don't care what you've got. You need to drop it, and you need to be at TGI Fridays by 6:00. Okay, and I did that to all 4 people, and all 4 people showed up. And we signed up 3 people into the business that night. Okay, so what was the difference? Why couldn't I get 4 people on a phone call, but I was able to get 4 people to drop what they were doing and come meet me for dinner in an hour? It was my urgency. It was and it was my belief in what I was talking about, guys. And that changed me. At that point, that changed me. There's a way, that we need to get to a point where we believe in what we're doing, and that it's urgent and that people need to do it. And it creates that momentum in our teams. And it's true. All right. So you want to make sure that you get to that point where you understand how valuable the timing is right now. It's kind of tough when you're in the middle of it, the timing that we're at. I was in a company that was 20 years old. It was over $1 billion in sales annually already. And I talked to a lot of people that had seen success in that company. And that were making over, 6 figures a month. And as I was learning and growing in that company, I'd always ask questions. I try to learn from their wisdom and what they'd experienced. And there was a common thing. I usually asked, if you could do something different, what would you do better? And and they didn't all say it the same way, but multiple people said about the same thing. And what they said was, Byron, if I would have really understood where I was before this thing hit full-blown momentum, if I really would have understood the timing that I was in, I would have worked 10 times harder. I would work 10 times harder, but I didn't know. And you know, that stuck with me because, guys, there is a time and a place. There is a sweet spot. There is, you know, and I believe it is now. We're at a point where we're growing month over month as a company, but we haven't hit that hyper growth yet, but we will. This product is too good. This opportunity is too big. Okay, and we need to make sure that we first off internalize that, and then we're able to share that with people through our message. You know, because it's going to do them a lot of good. Just like my mentor being able to show me by putting pressure on me how important it was to create that urgency. Obviously, not overbearance. I'm not saying be rude, but create that urgency. Be sincere with people and be upfront with people and let them know that it's probably, you know, they can wait till next week, but I mean, a lot's probably going to happen between now and then. All right. So if you put this together and you realize the core thing, the message is make it real. Okay. People can tell when it's fake. People want to know that it's a story, and you can make a story when you're sharing what's really taking place and what's really happening. And in sharing your story, once again, remember those three key things, and that is making sure you're sharing your story, the company story, and the financial aspect, the financial story. And if you do that, you can do a 5-minute presentation to 15 to a half hour to an hour to hour and a half, whatever you need to do. But guys, I am excited about what's going on with Rain. I've never been more excited in my life about an opportunity because of how many people we're affecting and the people that we're helping. And we really are going and are making a real difference in people's lives. And it's just going to get bigger, and we're going to impact more people on a much larger scale, which just excites me. And as you guys follow this Rain cycle, it's not just about you. It's about your teams. It's about your organizations following with a system of duplication that can work for the masses. We're going to be able to reach more and more and more people. So I wish everybody all the success. And this is Byron Belka calling in from Springville, Utah. And everybody, let's go out and make it rain. Take care.